I did mention it, but I'll
seven that you need to.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners Workshop on Community and Economic Development. Can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Angie,
Present.
Commissioner Beeden,
Present.
Commissioner Torello,
Present.
Commissioner Samasco, Commissioner Rushing,
Here.
Commissioner Vandenbosch, Commissioner Felix.
Here. Good evening. This is the third workshop to determine the future path of community and economic development in St. Clair County. The first workshop, held on January 9th, was to look at any issues or problems with the current arrangement. The second workshop, held on January 30th, discussed potential ideas and solutions to improve upon how economic development is delivered in St. Clair County. The third workshop, held tonight, is to discuss what solutions the Board of Commissioners want to examine deeper and move to the Board of Commissioner meeting on March 6th for possible action. Unless there are any objections, I would like to have Carly Kruger of Michigan State Extension speak before public comments. Carly, if you would, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. So first, I just want to start by making it very clear that MSU Extension is not interested in, coming between St. Clair County and the EDA. We're not a magic solution or anything. We had a stakeholder come to us and ask what we could do in the space of community and economic development, and that's what I'm here to share tonight. So you should have all received a draft position description that I sent a couple of days ago. I do have hard copies if you would like that right now. But I just want to reiterate that our lane as MSU Extension is education and outreach. So MSU Extension has several formal partnerships with other economic development entities around the state, and we've had those for several years. Again, as it relates to education and outreach. So I drafted this position description based on conversations I had with some commissioners, and I used the position descriptions that we used with those other partnered positions, as well as some aspects of our product center counselors. And again, that was all based on conversations I had with some commissioners. So nothing is set in stone. This is just presenting what we do in this space and what this partnership could look like. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things in there. Obviously, the description goes into more detail, but first and foremost, the food entrepreneurship educational programming and one-on-one counseling in alignment with our food product center on campus. This is kind of our bread and butter. We do that, entrepreneurship, economic development as it relates to food and agriculture really well. So that space specifically, that counseling could look like a lot of different things. So anywhere from business planning and development to food safety, product development, marketing, distribution, really anything from start to finish to help, somebody who's baking bread in their home to scale up that operation and increase that entrepreneurship. Utilizing different databases and resources and subscriptions that MSU Extension employees have at their fingertips, which could include economic impact analysis projects in partnership with our Center for Economic Analysis, building things like in-plan models and that kind of thing. Really working with communities, of all shapes and sizes, from our rural agriculture, our farm communities to the downtown areas in Port Huron or other urban centers. So really working with them to hear what the needs and opportunities are for each unique community, and designing, delivering educational programs based on those identified challenges. So obviously we have lots of curriculum that we've developed, or all of our curriculum and programs are research-based. We also develop those based on the needs of the communities. So, and those needs could be, facilitating open forums or community listening sessions, being part of different coalitions, just again, to get a pulse on what the needs and opportunities are in the community. Could be just having a conversation with a municipality, a community partner, anything of that nature. And really, I know there's work already being done in this area, obviously related to economic and community development. So really expanding on some of that work and helping businesses or communities, municipalities expand on that and help them operationalize some of those recommendations. We do have an educator based here in St. Clair County who does similar work, and particularly as it relates to tourism. He kind of specializes in that tourism piece. He has a statewide appointment, although he's worked a lot with St. Clair County and other communities in the region. So this position, I'm seeing that they would not only work alongside, obviously, our existing educator here in this area, but also along with EDA and SBDC and Parks and Rec and others in this space to connect all of those things that everybody is doing, and again, kind of build that capacity to help communities take that to the next step. Just some different logistics. I also included this in my email, but just some different logistics of a potential partnership for an educator position. The starting salary for this level of educator position in our organization is $56,100. That is negotiable based on education and experience. The cost of the county would be $117,895 for the full-time 1 FTE position. And again, this is for the position and not for the specific person. So it's based on averages for all of our educators across the state. So and it includes all benefits, fringe, operating costs, travel, technology needs, professional development, everything that person would need. So I also forwarded our current MOA that we have with the county. So we would just update and amend the current MOA to include that position. The minimum educational requirement for an educator level position in our organization is a master's degree. We do have space downstairs in our office for another person, so they could work out of that office. We do have a flexible work location though, just in that we know that life happens and if somebody gets sick or there's a snow day and they don't have alternative daycare for their kids, we do allow them to work from home when it makes sense. The default is always working from the office, but we are flexible with our staff as well. They would be an MSU Extension employee and would receive a full benefits package, including, healthcare, dental, life insurance, retirement, everything like that. We would manage the search and hiring process, and we would invite somebody from the board to sit and be a part of that process as well. We do first and second round interviews. So part of the second round interview process is a public presentation. So all of the candidates are given a topic to prepare a presentation and present that. That is open to the public. So the board could sit in on that. I mean, anybody could sit in on that. They're available on Zoom as well. So that would give everybody a chance to weigh in, meet the candidates, give feedback to the search committee and all that. Supervision would come directly from our Community Food and Environment Institute director on campus. With input from myself as district director, as well as the board, we would be sure to include any comments on annual reviews and throughout the year, of course. We do have an online reporting system, and it's an organizational expectation that all of our staff report quarterly on their efforts in that system. And they could certainly come to, board meetings quarterly or whatever the need is to give updates on what they've been doing and the impact they're having. So, again, nothing is set in stone. This is just to give you an idea of what this position could look like and what we do in other areas around the state related to community and economic development. But really, the nature of our work is to address the needs of the communities in which we serve. So, again, we could put this on paper, but it might change based on what the communities want and need. So I'll just stop there and answer any questions that anybody might have.
Any commissioners have any questions for Carly at this point? Okay, Carly, I have a few. I spoke with Andy Northrup, who you referred to. He's just very, very interested in liaisoning with this person that would be brought on board. Emphasis on tourism. He told me he has been here, I believe, 11 years or more, and he would like to see more tourism brought into the community with the resources we have here. So I was kind of excited to hear that from him. And you also mentioned that there is space right in this building for this individual in your MSU offices. What I see interesting is the board has the opportunity to tailor this contract to different things we want to focus on, correct? Okay.
Yeah, within the scope of what we do, but
Right,
yes.
right. And this is typically a one-year contract?
Yeah. So being part of the MOA, which is renewed annually with the board, yes.
Okay. I know this is a little difficult to answer, but any idea what we might expect if we choose to go this route before we'd have a person on the ground ready to go, time-wise?
Oh, timeline-wise, that's hard to say. Probably 4 months. It really depends on how many positions are in the queue at HR right now and getting them through the process. We typically post positions for 4 to 6 weeks, and then the committee meets and, based on calendars and schedules, we do first round interviews, within the first couple of weeks, give at least a week for second round interviews. Once a verbal offer is extended and accepted, it's about 6 weeks out from there for a start date. And that's to get references back and, background checks and stuff like that.
Okay, so if we kind of just tentatively plan, if we did this 3 to 4 months, that would be a good number to plan for.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other board members have questions? Go ahead.
We have 32 communities, 23 townships, and I'm pretty familiar with townships. There would be no membership fees for anybody that within us. It's going to be completely with the county, and there'd be no additional cost that would have to be recouped from and you'd represent the entire county, potentially. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and, this being fully funded by the county, they would obviously focus their time here. And, as part of the larger MSU Extension organization, as well as the work team this person would serve on, there's regional, like in May, there's a Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities Conference just next door in Lapeer. So, naturally, we draw people from the surrounding area, so serving on, a committee like that, so some regional work and attending, statewide meetings and stuff, but.
Just one other one. Do you guys do a monthly report or as needed quarterly report of what you're working on, where you're working on, and just a status of where, if we go that way around?
To, like at commissioner meetings or?
Just report to, well, he'd be in charge of it, economic development. He could report to us, and you could report to him individually, and then he would report to the county commissioners. But you keep him updated on whatever you're doing.
Sure, yeah, whatever's desired, sure.
And with the person in the building, that would be pretty easy to do. And naturally, I imagine he would come to this meeting as asked.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions from commissioners?
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
Hi, Carly.
Hi.
So if I am hearing you correctly, these services you had mentioned, for example, like if someone wanted to expand their sourdough bread baking business, there are these opportunities through MSU Extension where they could reach out and get that help. Is that currently available because we have this MOU?
It is, yeah. I mean, in reality, all of these services that we offer in Extension are available to all communities now.
Okay.
It's building capacity, you know, if somebody contacted our product center on campus directly, maybe they would be, you know, put in a queue and, you know, kind of wait, or, you know, even just help navigating some of those different things. So, you know, having somebody here would be able to help connect them with, you know, maybe your first step is to connect with this person and work through that, and then this person.
Sort of like
but-
a coach or a mentor.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
kind of a consultant or,
Yeah,
yeah.
So this person would be dedicated just to St. Clair County, because I know you had mentioned there's regional expectations because at the end of the day, they're an MSU Extension employee.
Yeah, yeah. So the majority of their work would be focused here, and, you know, just, again, part of an organization that serves the state, and, you know, programs that are offered, you know, for example, some of our programs are offered online, so they might pair up with somebody across the state and offer that, which would be available to St. Clair County residents, so.
Even now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So if I heard you correctly, the county's all-in costs, so benefits and career development and all that, the cost to the county is, I'm going to just round up to 118,000?
Yes.
Okay. And again, just so I'm clear, they would still report to MSU?
Directly, yes.
Okay.
With,
MSU would be the hiring and firing entity?
yes,
Okay. Okay.
with input, of course, from the board and
Sure. Yeah.
myself, yeah.
Okay. And just like a side note, you have my personal email, and I know that there's another personal email from a commissioner who, he didn't receive the packet.
Yeah.
So if you could, I don't know, connect with either me or Carrie or our website and just make sure that we're all on the county, because I mean, I check my personal all the time, but it was missed by this individual, and so.
Okay.
This is really important, and what you do even outside of this is important to us, and we don't want to miss it, so having
Absolutely.
it to the county would be beneficial. Thank you.
We couldn't find the direct emails on the website. And honestly, I don't know how my support staff person found everybody else's emails, but that's what I had. So I knew I wanted to get it out before tonight, but absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll send you those emails tomorrow
Okay,
morning.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Carly? All right. Oh, I'm from the commissioners, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Carly. Before I get started on citizen comments, I have an announcement to make to this board and the public. On February 13th, I emailed Commissioner Samasco's proposed memorandum of understanding with my additions to Dan Casey of the EDA and copied the full board of commissioners. As chairman of the Community and Economic Development Committee, I would expect that any discussions, interests, et cetera, about the memorandum of understanding would be directed to me. To date, that has not occurred. Silence from the EDA indicates lack of interest in a memorandum of understanding and a cue for the BOC to move in a different direction. I'm advocating following a new path in St. Clair County for community and economic development, a path that offers economic growth that will benefit all county residents, give full transparency, and allow citizen input. This new path would utilize the vast resources of Michigan State University, as you just have heard, and many functions that already exist in our county government, such as metropolitan planning, et cetera, to bring the community and economic development function into St. Clair County. At this time, I'll call citizens to address the board. Liz Masters.
I'm sorry, before we
Yeah,
do that.
go ahead.
Bruce is here from the EDA.
Yes.
Is there an opportunity for him to, I guess, respond to your MOU? or-
Certainly, if he'd like to respond now, is that what you're asking?
Yes, please.
Bruce, would you come up, please? I know Dan Casey said he had a cold. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of crud going around.
yeah, absolutely, Lisa. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Bruce Seymour, Vice President of Business Services with the Economic Development Alliance of St. Clair County. I cannot address the MOU situation. I know that we did receive it. I don't know why a response was not issued to you. I can share with you that there was a discussion prior to that date at our Board of Directors meeting, and they have been working on a response that should be coming to the Board of Commissioners with a proposal, most likely tomorrow or by the end of this week. We, just like the rest of the public, we heard about tonight's agenda yesterday when it was posted, and so I'm only being able to react to the presentation that was made today. I am interested in learning a little more, about this, because it does seem like, as it was stated, that the individual who will be hired for this will be piggybacking off of services that the EDA is already providing. And so, to me, it seems rather challenging for one individual to service this entire county. We have staff of 6, and we're stretched already with being able to provide all the services that we do. So that is something that I'd be interested to learn. There was nothing that was discussed about business attraction. If that would be part of this arrangement, that's something that we do in coordination with our communities. Also, workforce development, as we've been stated, that the ability of businesses to find workers is challenging right now, and so I'd be interested to learn how this would work out in this arrangement. Again, this is something we've been working on for a number of years. Population growth is connected to that, and we've received several different state grants to help increase and promote St. Clair County for our population. I'm also, at the beginning of the presentation, she did mention that a stakeholder reached out to her, so I'd be interested to learn who that stakeholder was, just so that there'd be that transparency that was addressed earlier. And
Point of order.
excuse me, yeah.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
The loud comments from the gallery, are you going to address those?
Certainly. Please hold it down.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So we'd just be interested in learning that. So we have been trying to work with the Board of Commissioners to come to an arrangement and an understanding. We want to come to an arrangement and an understanding to move forward. I am disappointed to hear your decision to move in a different direction, because we would like to be able to continue to work together. We have been working with the county since 1999, when you joined, and we expanded out to the entire county. And we'd hope to be able to continue to do that and can continue to call you as a partner. The EDA will not be going away. We will be continuing one way or another, and we'd like to have you as one of our partners.
Thank you. Any
you.
questions from the commissioners?
Just one. You brought up population growth. I'm sorry. But, population growth. You know what the population was in 2000, 2010, 2020, you get your statistics from?
We get it from the U.S. Census Bureau. I'm rounding off because I don't remember exacts, but it was about 160,000 people. It dropped slightly in 2010, I believe, down to about 158,000.
163,000 in 2010, dropped down to about 160 in 2020.
Okay, so it was in that range, the
163,040.
Yep. And so that's where we need to do. We have an aging population, and we need to be able to start to grow that and able to have the workforce that we need, for the businesses to thrive and survive and to expand here.
Any other questions?
I have a couple questions. Mr. Seymour, how many employees currently are working at the St. Clair County EDA?
We have 6. We lost 1 employee recently due to the situation that's currently going on. She was concerned for her position and decided that she needed to secure employment elsewhere. And so we are now down to 6.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, a couple of members of this board met with your EDA board, is that right?
That is correct.
You weren't present at that meeting, however,
I was not.
but you're aware of it.
I am aware of it.
And you know that it was about 2.5 hours in length?
That's correct.
After that, as a matter of fact, your organization presented a document that extended many ideas about how to address what we've been discussing. Is that right?
That is correct.
And as a matter of fact, there have been individuals from your organization that have been in contact with several commissioners on this board throughout this entire process. Is that also true?
That is true.
One of which being Dan Casey,
Yes.
as well as other employees of the EDA.
Yes, and board members as well.
And
And members, general members as well.
Thank you.
Express theirs.
as far as the functions that you have performed for the county, can you give us the top, what you would see? How long have you been with the EDA?
I have worked with the EDA for 14 years.
Okay. So in that experience, what would you say are the top 3 most important things that the EDA does for the county?
I would say the first one is our business retention and expansion program. So working with existing businesses on any issue that they might have. I'm available to all St. Clair County businesses to call. A good example is that on Friday, when the state legislature passed changes to the Earned Sick Time Act, we put together a webinar for businesses that will take place tomorrow morning so that they learn those changes and what's occurring. We have 135 individuals signed up for that in that 6 days. So that would be number one. The second one is our entrepreneurial program. For that, we are working to grow and diversify our businesses with new businesses that are starting up. As you've heard in the past, we received a grant from the state of Michigan to expand our entrepreneur programs to provide additional services to those individuals who are looking to start their own business. The third would be our workforce efforts. Providing workforce assistance to our businesses is critical. If they don't have the people that they need with the skill sets that they're looking for, then they can't do their operations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't think I have any other questions at this point. Thank you, Mr. Seymour.
Any other commissioners have questions?
Yeah, one, because of what you said.
Go ahead.
2 emails ago, and you have been getting more emails to us on the status of what EDA is actually doing. But in that email, and I'm going to think that possibly it would have been the wording that I took offense, for lack of a better term, issue to. It stated in there that the EDA's efforts would be focused on the current members. Of course, the funding that we provide is for the entire county. Now, if you're going to take the 300,000 plus in-kind services and only direct because I believe you can now have 9 current membership within the county out of 32 that actually are paid members.
I believe that's the right number. Yes, sir.
So that would be one thing I'd want to address, because the 300,000 isn't direct to just those 9. It's direct to the entire county.
One of the things that Dan Casey has stated at past workshops is that regardless of how we move forward, we will continue to work with businesses regardless of what community they're in. So I think that what you're referencing are the communities that we would work with. And those would be those member communities, those that have opted out or decided not to become a member. We understand they don't want us to participate, and we would leave them. But it would be the businesses that are located throughout the county that the funding from the county would cover our work for.
I have a couple of questions for you, sir. You obviously the EDA uses some services of the county, such as metropolitan planning.
We use very limited, yes.
Okay. Do you utilize any of the MSU Extension services, such as Andy Northrop, who's in this building?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We have in the past, yes.
Okay. And are those considered your in-kind services? You're obviously not hiring them, like Jeff Donaldson, when he comes out to help you.
I'm sorry, are you referencing MSU Extension or the county?
Both.
The both? The in-kind contributions would be when we have a project that requires a county service, we would come to the county for assistance. Jeff Donaldson, since he is the staff person responsible for brownfields, if they were going through something with a brownfield, of course, we would work with him.
Okay, and if we bring this MSU person here, obviously, they would have those services available also, so, okay. I have a question for you. This meeting has been on the agenda for at least a couple of weeks. I don't suppose you want to offer why no one from the EDA board has contacted me as chair to express an interest in the memorandum of understanding that you've had since February 13th? Any idea?
I cannot address that.
Okay, are you familiar with the Code of Ethics and Confidentiality form?
I am.
Okay, every member of the EDA board has to sign that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that would include Ms. Hepting, who serves on that board at this time.
Yes, she is.
And it included Jeff Bowe, most likely before, and the other township officers such as Bob Lewandowski and Robert Crawford when he was township supervisor. Okay, and are you familiar with bullet item number 9 that states, and I quote, "Avoid any activity or outside interest which conflicts or appears to conflict with the best interests of the EDA."
I can't say I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, did you sign one of these, sir?
I'm not on the board of directors.
Okay, very good. Well, as I read that, and then I'll leave this to the board's interpretation, any outside interest or activity which conflicts or appears to conflict with the best interests of the EDA says you're putting the interests of the EDA first. That's where the community has trouble. Transparency. Do you know if the EDA is prepared to offer the removal of this non-disclosure agreement or the confidentiality? If you've been privy to any of those discussions?
I have not.
Okay, and then I don't really have any more questions for you. You're not involved with the board, obviously, so thank you. Any other questions?
I've got a couple of questions.
Certainly.
Sir, I learned recently, much to my surprise, because I have been led to believe that there had been no communication or transparency on behalf of the EDA whatsoever. But I learned recently that, in fact, the EDA has been sending out weekly reports detailing many of its activities, including activities surrounding the sale of lands and lands acquisition, sent to not only the county, but also various townships and the city of Port Huron for at least a decade, dating back or more, every week. Are you aware of that?
I am. All staff is required to complete that on a weekly basis.
And so you can confirm that indeed has been a report that's gone out to all of the township supervisors, Mr. Freed or whoever predated Mr. Freed, and members of this board as well.
Yes.
I also learned that there was a website. You have a website?
We do.
And I also learned that there have been podcasts as well.
We have over 50 podcasts that we do in recording at WGRT, yes.
Have you done any town hall meetings?
We have. We started at the end of last year to do town hall meetings in various communities, which are open to the public. We are working on doing a better job of promoting those so that a wider audience knows about them. But they are open for anyone to come and to have a conversation with us about anything they'd like.
Have there been also monthly electronic reports that have gone out as well?
We do a monthly email, a monthly newsletter, which summarizes our activities as well.
Is there anything more that the EDA is willing to do as far as transparency is concerned? I understand that's a concern that's been voiced by several members of the community. I know you've heard those concerns. What is your response to that?
We will, and we are ready to hold more public meetings, public town halls, to provide the community with a greater understanding of what we do, provide them with greater number of additional forums so that they can ask us and interact with us, and to try to do as a better job at responding to what questions they might have.
As far as the situation with opting in or out of the EDA, have you previously had a written document that has been allowed to be filed with your organization from townships that might not want to be a part of the EDA, an opt-out document, if you will?
No, we haven't. That is one of the suggestions that came from the board and that we would look to implement, to know exactly what each of the townships would like to, what kind of a relationship each of the townships and municipalities would like to have with us.
Are you also willing to open up your board to additional seats to perhaps individuals on this board or individuals chosen by this board to sit on the EDA board?
We are willing to have that as part of that discussion about expanding our board seats to the Board of Commissioners.
Now, I understand Mr. Bohm was also a part of your board, is that right?
He was a officer with our organization. He recently stepped down from that officer's position. He is still a member of our board of directors.
He is no longer the vice president,
That is correct.
and that action actually occurred at the behest of some members of this board.
That is correct.
Do you have anything else to add that the EDA might be willing to address from the concerns that have been voiced by the public before?
We have listened, we have heard, and as I said, we are ready to send a document which has our proposals of what we can do in order to continue to be a successful economic development organization for our county, and to see if that document is something that the county can agree to, or what they might see as negotiations and, work from there.
In fact, over the last week or so, you have been the recipient of a couple of different drafts of memorandums of understanding by a couple of the commissioners here, is that right?
That is my understanding. I have not seen any directly, but it's my understanding, yes.
Have you had an opportunity to meet as a board to discuss those memoranda since they've been submitted to you?
No, we have not had a meeting since then, a board meeting.
Do you think it would be helpful or beneficial at all in order for you to meet and discuss those couple of different memorandums that have been submitted to you so that you can compile a list of things that you want to do to address the concerns of the citizenry?
Yes, I do believe that that is something that would be very helpful.
And will you work toward that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Couple more questions. If the EDA does allow Board of Commissioner members to sit on your board, imagine it would be expected we'd have to sign this code of ethics and confidentiality as things now stand?
Yes.
Quiet, please. Yeah, that is not acceptable. That is not anything I could ever sign. Any commissioner that wishes to do so, they may choose on their own volition, but that is not something I could ever do. So that is a stopping point. As far as the memorandums of understanding, I know that Commissioner Angie insisted that we put something together over the weekend prior to the 10th so that it would be available for your board meeting on the 10th. Was that ever delivered to the EDA, Commissioner Angie?
I received no response from yourself. So I wasn't aware of what you wanted to do with the remarks that you had made. I spoke briefly with Commissioner Samasco, who indicated that he had not really yet spoken with you and that he felt that we should all put something together, the 7 of us, to submit to the EDA. However, it's my understanding that both the memorandum that you wrote as well as the memorandum that Steve wrote, and perhaps some of the solutions that I had listed may or may not have been submitted to various members of the EDA in a very unorganized fashion, contrary to what I had suggested. So I'm not sure the status of that.
Okay. Dan Casey represents your organization, correct, and has done so to this board?
Yes, he has.
I forwarded my memorandum of understanding and Steve Samasco, the chair, to him on February 13th. So everyone needs to be aware that they had that on the 13th, and you can't speak to why we're not going to get feedback till perhaps tomorrow, but I think it stands for itself that we don't have it now. So I have no other questions for you. Anybody else?
I don't have a question, but just a statement.
Yeah, certainly.
In regards to, and just very easily, an NDA or confidentiality, being a previous township supervisor, because we're going to have some speakers come up here very shortly, but I do not believe with the Michigan State Constitution, we take an oath of office, any documentation that is signed by any member of a board of trustees is required to be given to the clerk. That has not been done in the past. So any one of these would have to be given to, by law, in my opinion, and if you don't do it just on your own merits, because it's the right thing to do, but everything, documentation has to go to every clerk that's been elected to office. If it isn't illegal, it's at least immoral, in my opinion, because you're representing the people that put you in office, and I would take exception to anyone that would sign this. So I just want to make a statement.
As I would. Any other comments? Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, I will ask for citizen comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'd like to start with Liz Masters, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. Liz Masters, Township Supervisor of Wales Township. I won't need 3 minutes. I just encourage this board, and I appreciate this board taking the time to look for a non-biased, non-prejudiced, fair, and impartial entity in answer to our problem for our economic development. I think the questions that I'm hearing out of the commissioners as far as the confidentiality and the NDAs, we're moving towards a more transparent government in St. Clair County, and it's really working out. And I just encourage you, and you have my full support, to look for a more open entity for the future of St. Clair County. Thank you so much. Before I'm done, Mr. Seymour stated, and Commissioner Angie asked about the monthly or the weekly newsletters. Wales Township, and I am the township supervisor, I've been the township supervisor for 6 years, has never received those until January when this issue opened up. I can't speak for all townships, but Wales Township absolutely was not getting those newsletters, the monthly or weekly, whatever they are. All of a sudden, they're coming in. So I want to state that for the record, with an apology that came with it. For some reason, Wales wasn't getting it. And I will say this, Mr. Seymour specifically said that he will, or the EDA will continue to service businesses, but townships and municipalities can opt out. And what I'm seeing here is exactly the same service that brought us here tonight in the previous workshops. We have an entity that's all for the companies and, again, not for the individual communities. So I stress and I warn on something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Angela Dufresne, please.
Well, thank you guys for looking into this and spending all this time on this. I was happy to hear from the MSU Extension because, you know, EDA has this huge list of what they do. But there are organizations in our county that do a lot of these functions. So it's like they're double doing these functions. So for example, Michigan Works does workforce development. You know, it may be a little bit different, but, you know, I would rather see funding from our county to get, you know, a St. Clair County Michigan Works. Right now, we are combined with Macomb. I feel like Michigan Works has been the organization for at least 20 years that is known for workforce development. So I don't think EDA needs to be involved in that. He also mentioned that they're going to have more community meetings or town halls. What I've seen in the past is coffee with Dan, just to ask them questions. That's not what the community wants. What the community wants is, hey, what do you guys think about a large-scale solar project? You know, come on out, let us know what you think about it. Ask the community if they want something before you put the time and the effort and the money in to courting these companies or helping them, you know? I also really do not like the whole confidentiality agreement. While they may be sending out a notice to all of these different townships and stuff, if my supervisor in Fort Gratiot is part of the EDA, which we are, he has to sign a confidentiality agreement. So even though he gets that letter, he's not able to share that with the community. You know, when we elect people on this board and in our community, you are to represent us first, not businesses, you know. I can't say I support the EDA moving forward. I think there's nepotism in who they help in this community. I know a lot of small business owners that have never been able to get help from them. I think there's people from outside the county that are coming in here with lots of money and they're being catered to. Tourism, that's what I want to see around here. I think a majority of the people that live here want to see that. That has been lagging in our community. That was what our community was founded on back in the day. This was the vacation area for people from other counties to come to. We don't want to be Macomb.
You got to wrap it up.
We don't want to. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy Burgee, please.
I am Tracy Berge. I live in Marysville. I have just a real small business, but I'm a mom. I'm just a person that cares about what's happening here. I am so appreciative that you've been able to put on this workshop. In that time, since January, I took some time to do some research and like, what does this EDA do for us, you know, as a people? Our population is just under 160,000. I Googled it. That's what they told me. So I was looking at the number. We pay I found a report that says that we pay $310,000 to the EDA, that we give them money and we just say, yo, you got that. You just take care of us and you take care of us in the best interest of the people. But with NDAs, I don't see that as the best interest of the people ever. I don't know anyone that would write me a check and just say, Trace, I trust that you have got me. I don't think somebody would give me $20 and tell me that you've got this. When we need to look back, and now when we all learned all these things with all of our ARPA money, our COVID money, I watched some of these board members that are not here today, so you're all not in the same clump, but I just met some of our board members, gave ARPA money to the EDA, and the EDA then, and they're supposed to be our helpers, they were not our helpers. They wanted to bring 23 Mile down to 26 Mile. They want to change that into industrial, completely void of what the people wanted, and they want to change that land. And I am not anti-growth. I am not ignorant. I do not understand the topics, as I happened to see one of their memorandums that went out before that first before the first workshop. I find it a little bit insulting that the taxpayer, just the ordinary person, so you're going to take 310,000, let me just throw that out there for you. So we're at $310,000, and that's probably not a lot compared to what everything else costs. But once I did the numbers, so for the last 6 years, I have a report that says 6 years, that's $1.8 million. Then before that, we were on the hook for $100,000, and I can't find how many years back that goes. But that does not include the $400,000 that I watched Jeff Bohm give to them like a year and a half ago, and then when they wanted to bring in 23 Mile down to 26, they needed money for the sewer separation, and that was going to be 800 and some $1,000, and that's when everything kind of hit the brakes, and they're like, wait a minute. But yet, when you look at who benefits from that, they'd like us to believe that all these people in St. Clair County are benefiting. But I want you to ask yourself, has the EDA been to your home and said, oh my gosh, here, let me help you? That has not happened. I don't believe that that's to be true.
You got to wrap it up.
And then one of the county commissioners.
3 minutes is up. You
Oh,
gotta-
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra Richardson, please.
Sandra Richardson, Fort Gratiot, and I would like to thank the county commissioners for making themselves and other commissioners aware of some of the concerns that we may have for why we would even consider supporting such an organization. It's very concerning with their privacy requirements that they have everyone that's on their board sign. And it's something that probably a lot of us weren't even aware of, definitely as residents, that we would be funding such an organization that our own tax money would be going to, that we would have to keep secrets on what their, whatever their projects are or wherever their funding is going to. This is something as a parent and as someone in St. Clair County that I wouldn't ever want to sign or fund an organization that I had to know that the board was having privacy secrets of where the funding was going. It's just nothing. It's not what you do with taxpayer money. If this was a private board somewhere else in a good old boys club that wants to sign these agreements, you know, a organization that doesn't affect your taxpayers' money, that's one thing. But I couldn't go to my kids and my adult children and say, this is where your taxpayer money is going to, and give you a good feeling about it. I have spoke to people in our own government, in our own township, several years ago, and I said, if you have a project coming our way and you think it's so fantastic that you want to, you know, vote on it and have it put in our community, then you need to bring it before us residents ahead of time and say, how do you feel about this as a resident? Not indicate that you knew nothing about something and then magically it was presented before our boards, and maybe encouraged by an organization such as this to bring this to our community, and no one knew anything about it. So don't come to me as a citizen and say I knew nothing about it, but I sat on a board that knew everything about it. So what I'm just saying is thank you to this board for looking into this. Thank you for looking into all the things that you're concerned about as our representatives. And I could not condone spending another dollar in this organization. I don't care how long they've been around, since 1999. This, because they've been around a long time, does not mean that it's a good thing to continue to dump money into. So I just would not support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Richards, please.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Richards, and I've lived and worked in St. Clair County for the past 22 years. During most of that time, like many others, I did not know how any of my tax dollars were being spent at our local level, much less the state and the federal levels. All I knew was the more we worked and the more money we made, the more we were taxed. It never seemed to be enough. Now, so many of us have become aware that most of our tax dollars have been wasted, fraudulently spent, and outright stolen. This corruption at the federal level that DOJ is exposing has validated what we had only joked about before: tax the poor so the rich get richer. I am sure the corruption can be found at many levels of our government. With that said, I am reassured that our current Board of Commissioners that we have elected and entrusted with our county finances are acting in our best interests. We thank you for allowing input from citizens on how to best move forward with the EDA and the spending of our tax dollars. With the control being taken from the local townships and municipalities, which is where the citizens should have the biggest voices, the decisions seem to be made by bureaucrats by dangling a carrot and sugarcoating the outcomes, targeting the vulnerable rural communities. These sweetened deals are bringing businesses and corporations into our county that are not in our best interest of the people who live here. I do want oversight on how our money should be spent. I want the transparency and I want the receipts. The citizens should be the ones to decide how our county should grow, not unelected bureaucrats. If the decision is to continue funding the EDA with a contract that allows oversight, how would we identify the type of businesses and corporations that are being brought into our county? Would the contract be managed by the Board of Commissioners? What are other counties of similar sizes doing for economic growth? I don't expect an answer to these questions, but they are all questions just to think about when making these decisions. At this point, I am skeptical at any non-government organization that is being funded with our tax dollars that decide what is best for the taxpayers. I trust that our Board of Commissioners will consider all of the input from the citizens over the past several months and make the best decision on behalf of our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Grover, please.
Well, thank you, Commissioners, for all you do and for allowing us all to speak. I'm going to be brief. My name is Mike Grover. I'm from China Township, and one of the many things I do is I'm a building contractor. The EDA, in my opinion, super secretive, and we all know that. I mean, I went on their website today for the second or third time, and you know, it's pretty nice. It's all full of a lot of fluff, but it doesn't really tell us what they're doing. From China Township, you know, I want to tell you, opposition is great to our taxpayers' dollars being spent for the EDA. It is a secretive society. In my opinion, they use closed construction awards. And it's interesting that many of the projects that the EDA is a part of, the same general contractor gets the job every single time. Now that's almost like playing the lottery. It's impossible. In China Township, we fought against the 26-mile road corridor. Nobody wants it. Then we had to fight against Bitcoin mines. And anybody that does the research on a Bitcoin mine would never want it anywhere near St. Clair County. And the only reason they're coming is because Edison's willing to pull their pants down and give them very cheap power, which is essential to that operation. So the Bitcoin mines go away because the public's outraged, and all of a sudden we got data centers that want to come in. And I think we're fighting an uphill battle on the data centers, and the only way, in my opinion, would be for the people to just absolutely uprise and for the EDA to back off on it. Again, data centers need a tremendous amount of energy. Having attended the China Township board meetings, we were told by planning that if they meet the criteria for zoning, they're coming. We can't stop them. And what they've done is move them from King Road, right next to a church, next to an elementary school, onto the heavy industrial property of Detroit Edison. In my opinion, I get it. If it meets the zoning, they're going to be able to get it. But the people don't want this. They're noisy. They create health risks that are unknown, and people across the country are opposed and know that they have made a mistake to allow these things. So again, I want to just say that I'm totally opposed to taxpayer dollars being used for the EDA. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Falk, please.
Up until January of this year, it was business as usual with the EDA. In January, the Board of Commissioners decided to pause the EDA's funding because of public outcry in regards to their organizational practices. Further review and oversight were deemed necessary. 3 workshops, including today's, were scheduled. Lots of public comment, both pro and con EDA, were provided. I'm against the current EDA model. The agendas, the minutes, and the meetings are not open to the public. This is totally unacceptable to many of us here in this room tonight. What if the Board of Commissioners, City of Port Huron, or the townships, what if they ran their meetings this way? There'd be public outcry. Confidentiality agreements or NDAs are commonly signed. Where's the transparency in this? The EDA is funded by our taxpayer dollars. I'd like to know who this unelected government agency ultimately works for, the corporations or us, the taxpayer. It seems to me that the answer should obviously be the EDA works for the American taxpayer. However, it doesn't feel that way. We, the citizens, deserve a say about the corporations wanting to set up shop in our communities. So many times, these business ventures seemingly drop from the sky at township meetings, to the point to where it's practically a done deal when the public learns of these plans. For example, it almost happened in China Township recently with Solstice LLC Data Mining Center. It's not about the almighty dollar to the people living in these communities. There has to be a balance. St. Clair County is our home. I would be very interested in our Board of Commissioners pursuing a relationship with the MSU Cooperative Extension rather than continuing our current partnership with the St. Clair County EDA in its current form. I have a complete lack of trust with the EDA at this point. Zero transparencies, NDAs, no good. How can we trust them after all the crap that we've been through in the 2+ years, starting with 26 Mile, when we were filling this room with people? I'm reminded of Albert Einstein, who famously said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Let's try a new path. One last thing. This is for Mr. Fletcher. He's not here, but I'm just going to say it so it's on the record. I am eagerly looking forward to reading the ordinance that our St. Clair County Health Department has tasked Mr. Fletcher and his law firm to write in regard to Dr. Nevin's recommendation for local regulation of eligible facilities subject to Public Act 233 of 2023. Hopefully, we'll be able to preview this by the next Board of Commissioners meeting on March the 6th. Many people throughout our county, the state of Michigan, and across the U.S. are very interested in this ordinance. So they need to get this done ASAP to protect our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Glass, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kevin Glass, Planning Commission Chairman and member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for Wells Township. I want to say that one of the biggest things I'm concerned about, first, I want to say thank you, of course, like everybody else, and I think they're sincere when we say we're thanking you for all the effort you put forward to put a face to the problem. I spent a long time up here the last time I was standing here saying that we need to focus on the problem. I talked to a lot of constituents, yours, ours, and the majority of them want to know, who can we trust? So if you listen to your audio a couple meetings back, I think first when Mr. Casey was looking right at me and he says, contrary to what you might be hearing, we are not in the business of citing or recommending solar, wind, or battery in your townships. Okay? So I listen to that and I say, well, in all our hearings that we have in Wales, you look closely at the people you're listening to and try to get a handle and give them the benefit of the doubt best you can. And then you hear other things that are just innuendos or quotes in newspapers that might say other things. And I just want to make sure that when you make this important decision, if it ends up being other than the EDA, it sounds like you have some very good references for other places. If you don't, I just question how you can put the face of trust from everything you've heard here. Can you do that or not? I just want you to focus on trust for all of us here, including the EDA. Give them the benefit of the doubt if you think they deserve it. But if they don't, you just have to do the right thing for all of us. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Carol Miller, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner Ange, before I start my speech that I have here, I just want to let you know what you're going to hear from me is in contrast to the gentleman from the EDA. I do talk to commissioners, and I do talk to my supervisor, people on the EDA. So what you're going to hear from me is contrast. He's a salesman. He's here to sell the EDA. Good evening, Commissioners. I believe the funding should be halted with the current regime of the EDA. I'm hopeful that this board will look to another way of handling the economic development. Recently, I spoke to a member of the EDA board, and it was noted that NDAs need to continue to stay, that nothing should be foiable, and that the public should continue to not be allowed to attend meetings. In other words, they want our money, but they don't want our input or to be transparent. I know that Dan Casey says that he will adapt, but for now, how long? Also, if the citizens didn't know, to join the EDA, as was shown, a confidentiality agreement is to be made to be signed. Just so you guys know, that's worse than an NDA. The very first listed ARPA fund gift on the list that was presented in the agenda packets was not $400,000, Tracy, it was $500,000. That is our taxpayer dollars that was given to the EDA by the past Commissioner Jeff Bohm. Follow the money trail, Commissioners, follow the money trail. He should have given it to the city of St. Clair that he represented and have it go directly to the millions of dollars needed for their wastewater treatment plant. Instead, he gave it to Dan Casey. That $500,000 could have benefited nearly 6,000 citizens of St. Clair and even more who rely on that city for water. I am also in awe that the EDA needs to have a new building with $1 million waterfront view and take grant money that someone else could utilize when there are so many other empty buildings that they could go into. Shouldn't they be filling vacant buildings? Apparently that's not good enough for the EDA staff. I was also told by an EDA board member that St. Clair County cannot withstand not having this EDA. I beg her to differ. Think about it. Using such things as a private entity would save a lot of tax dollars. Things could be transparent. The citizens could speak on what they like, what they don't like, and their communities. Rather than hearing about done deals, our voices would be heard, our master plans would be followed. What I want to leave you all with is please, please vote for what is best for the county, the citizens, and the taxpayers. Do not vote because you have friends who have businesses and have benefited from the monies received from the EDA. We are tired of handing our money over to the EDA and have no say. You have taken an oath to take care of us. Please vote accordingly and not for your friends. Look at why you are in your seat.
You need to wrap it up, please.
Thank you. It is to do what is best for all, not just a few. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greg Abbey, please.
Greg Abbey, Cotterville Township Supervisor. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on the vital subject of economic development within our county. Our community is at a pivotal moment, and now more than ever, we need to take charge of our economic future. Allowing our county to manage its own economic development authority is not just an option, it's a necessity. Here's why. First and foremost, our county is rich with local expertise and knowledge. We understand our unique economic landscape better than anyone else. We know our strengths, challenges, and opportunities intimately. This deep understanding allows us to craft strategies that are specifically tailored to our community's needs, ensuring that every decision made aligns with our collective vision and aspirations. Secondly, managing our own economic development grants us agility and flexibility. In an ever-changing economic environment, the ability to adapt quickly is crucial. A local economic development authority can swiftly respond to emerging trends, seize new opportunities, and address challenges head-on. This nimbleness allows us to stay ahead of the curve and maintain a competitive edge. Furthermore, local management fosters community engagement and ownership. When economic development decisions are made at the county level, residents, businesses, and stakeholders are more likely to be involved in the process. This inclusivity ensures that our economic strategies reflect the values and goals of our community, creating a sense of ownership and support that is essential for its success. Another critical advantage is the ability to allocate resources efficiently. By managing our own economic development, we can direct funding and resources to projects and initiatives that will have the most significant impact on our community. This targeted approach maximizes the return on investment and ensures that our efforts yield tangible benefits for everyone. One of the most compelling reasons to have a government-managed economic development authority rather than a private one is accountability and transparency. When decisions are made closer to home, residents and businesses have a direct line to those responsible for shaping our economic future. Government entities are held to a higher standard of transparency and public accountability, ensuring that economic development efforts are in the best interests of our community. In contrast, private economic development authorities prioritize profit over community needs, potentially leading to decisions that do not align with the public good. In conclusion, allowing our county to manage its own economic development is the key to unlocking our full potential. It empowers us with local expertise, agility, community engagement, efficient resource allocation, investment attraction, and enhanced accountability. By entrusting our county with this responsibility, we can create a thriving, resilient, and prosperous local economy that benefits all of us. And this is in direct correlation to the Marine City Highway Corridor plan set forth. 85% of the community was against it, and they recommended it anyway. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Amanda McClure, please.
Good evening, everyone. Commissioners, thank you for having us all tonight and giving us a chance to speak. I am definitely not in favor of continuing support for the EDA with taxpayer money. Being here tonight and hearing how non-transparent everything is, the NDAs, is very disturbing. I think that the community has been very vocal about not wanting certain projects to be happening, and the EDA was not communicating. I think that there's, if you dig down into it, the root cause for the community outrage is because of the lack of communication. And if they are not willing to communicate and to be transparent, not signing these non-disclosure agreements, they're not doing the best for the community, and that's not going to solve the root problem of what we're going through right now. So I did really like what I heard about the MSU Extension. I like that it would be a lower cost for the community, that they have a lot of programs that are already available to us as a state. So we wouldn't just be dumping a bunch of money into something that we don't know what it's going to. So I appreciate an actual solution being brought tonight. And yes, as you're voting, I would encourage all of the commissioners and anyone that is an elected official to do what's right for the community and not just for businesses. And if you are going to sign an NDA agreement that is against what your constituents are asking for you, I think that you should step down.
Thank you. Anthony Farrelly, please.
Anthony Farrell, pastor of Crossroads Community Church. And thank you again, commissioners, for addressing this issue. We are the church where they wanted to put the data center just south of our property, so that's always referenced. And on September 16th, when we received notification that the township was going to be voting on a tax abatement for for Solstice data, and this monolith was coming in. To say the least, it was frightening. And so working through the implications of that, of what it meant for our church, our community, for the school, and it seemed like there were just overwhelming forces which were arrayed against us. It had this sense of inevitability, and you could never quite get to the bottom of who started it, who was motivating it, whose interest was at play. There wasn't good transparency, which created deeper distrust. So I don't want to tell my story again. I've told this over and over and over. What brings me here is to say thank you, commissioners, for addressing the issue, but being on the receiving end of that potential situation was frightening. And so now they're not coming into China Township or south of our property. That's good news. But my concern is that what was going to happen to us could be happening to other people and is happening to other people. So I'm coming here from a moral point of view. Many people here know much more about the economics and the structural issues. But in the way that that happened, it was an eye-opener to me to say that there really needs to be far more accountability, transparency, openness to the community and to the citizens. And so whatever you need to do, I'm not speaking against the EDA or for the EDA. Dan Casey came, he visited with me, talked with me, I appreciated that. And I'm not sharing anything with you guys that I didn't share with him. I sat there, he was in my office, and I said, Dan, we just want more transparency, openness, and accountability to the community. Because if that would have happened and people had the attitude that it was unstoppable, the implications would have been very serious for our church, for our residents, for the school. And so whatever the solutions are, there does need to be more accountability, because morally, it's just not right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sandra Tannehill, please.
My name's Sandra Tannehill. Words for EDA, these are not opinions. NDAs, confidentiality agreements, can't FOIA, township board members and residents not involved, conflicting information, good old boys club, small business express favoritism, failure to respect zoning ordinances and master plans, withholding relevant information, industry over residents, division and trust issues, promoting and selling out communities, discrepancy, considerable, unelected power, non-transparent, lack of efficiency and financial accountability to taxpayers, lack of zero communication, public distrust, burdening communities. I quote per Dan Casey, local communities can decide to or not to sign NDAs. It's totally up to you. The concern is EDA is signing NDAs and all the board members, partially made up of elected officials, are under a confidentiality agreement. Once it's signed, they can't even admit that they've had a company that's exploring to industrialize their community. This is no benefit to us. In fact, with EDA being so secretive, regardless if it's an NDA or the lack of interest in notification to local governments, it's burdening and hindering our decision-making. For example, Dan Casey has stated that EDA had nothing to do with the solar industry. He spoke at the Times Herald in 2018 and said, the EDA has heard from 3 companies total interested in solar developments. The EDA showed properties to 2 of them. I quote from Dan Casey, they've got several properties or contracts in different townships. He too kept mum about where. I quote, we showed them good properties all over the county we thought might be good candidates. Most of them are rural. During the application process in Fort Gratiot, it would be a neglect of duty and responsibility to the residents that the acting supervisor at the time to not speak for advice from EDA regarding an industrial project that will be consuming 1,000 acres and 17 parcels of land. He's on the EDA board and the township is a paying member. That same supervisor with confidentiality agreement had a vote and voted against the residents and the planning commission. Some of us have seen this as suspicious, unethical, and a conflict of interest. EDA will continue to do business regardless if they're acquiring taxpayer money to support or not. I am asking that the county does not support this non-government organization financially. There is zero transparency in many instances, and it's been made clear verbally and by actions. This is a part of their business and practice and protocol. The local businesses wanting to collaborate with EDA are not being stopped. It would be more beneficial to take the matters under the county's guidance that we know have our best interest, and financial obligations to taxpayers will be guarded and held with trust. These industries are not going away.
You got to wrap it up.
Equal opportunity for all local businesses and local government's involvement will allow the county to thrive and promote a healthier partnership.
Thank you. Libby Prill.
Good evening. Our community found its voice. I just have to say, a commissioner who signs the EDA agreement will likely face recall. That's a reality. The idea that the EDA would require that you sign such an agreement indicates their intent to continue to operate in secrecy. My feeling is you take or leave our MOU that we give you because we know what we want. Also, MSU has more than 6 employees. Jeff Bohm has not curtailed his anti-taxpayer agenda. He is working in Macomb County to push forward his 26-mile road agenda on St. Clair County residents that he thinks are stupid, and another EDA member described as old. This corridor is intended for jobs for Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne County laborers, but it is the St. Clair County taxpayers who will bear the cost of increased local services while these companies enjoy tax abatements. Where will their employees spend their paychecks? In their own county, close to home, just like we all do. I believe that an EDA is a useful tool when its activities are dedicated to the community's best interest. MSU Economic Development Services will cost a quarter of what we currently pay and is a more trustworthy and scholarly source. A strong relationship with MSU may open doors to increased opportunities related to education, grants, and projects that will grow jobs and tourism. We also need a strong advocate to assist the county in navigating the self-serving tactics of our existing EDA that has united with Macomb County's intrusive agenda. We need a dedicated and formidable advocate, or we will be overrun by noise, smell, traffic, pollutants, and crime. This is an important time of business opportunity in our country. We have a lower business tax and tariffs that favor domestic manufacturing. It's a departure from the status quo, and St. Clair County may benefit from a new approach and fresh ideas. Let's give attention to growing some of our smaller operators who have been squeezed out by bigger companies that request bigger abatements that come with a bigger disconnect to the community and ultimately a bigger loss when they fail. I believe that a partnership with MSU offers a welcomed new perspective to growth that will focus on serving our county's taxpayers in best interests rather than the interest of other counties. Thank you.
Thank you. Vance Richardson, please.
Vance Richardson, Fort Gratiot. I've spoke numerous times here with this group. I wish to make several comments regarding the EDA and some of my thoughts and my opinions. First one is, in all honesty and all respectfulness to the board that's up here, I have no clue why the CEO of EDA is not here. If I were him, you would bring me in on a stretcher, and I would apologize, but I would be here on a critical meeting of this nature. No excuse whatsoever in the least. And not to respond in a super prompt manner to any inquiries that came, unexcusable. It's not looking good for your future when you respond this way.
I like the opportunities that are being presented by the Michigan State Extension. I think they should be followed and looked into. Again, some of the lack of transparency that takes place, the confidentiality, the NDAs, is nothing but a tool, a secret boys club tool. If you're a township supervisor, you have to sign this to join this committee. Okay, you hear about something, guess what? You can't go back to your township board and say, gee whiz, this group's coming here, we better prepare. We better look at our ordinances and look what we're doing. Either that or to the contrary, you go ahead and connive up some ordinances that please them, and I won't say solar, but I've seen it happen. And then you wonder, why does the planning commission turn this down? Why don't the residents want it? And then all of a sudden the board rubber stamps it. Makes you wonder. I've been wondering for quite a while. Last but not least, if you look at, and this is numbers that I've gotten off the internet, so I can't say positively they're ProPublica. Net income for last year was $41,000 for EDA. They had revenue income, $1,150,000, expenses, $1,105,000. So the net income was $41,000. Dan Casey made $132,700. $132,000 for Dan Casey. He can't even be here tonight. That must tell you something. If you're going to give him $300,000, he puts $132,000 in his pocket for his salary. They only have 6 employees. They only have a net income of $41,000. What is going on? Are they really representing us? Are they really out burning the road like they should be? Time for a change.
Need to wrap it up, please.
Time for a change. Yep.
Thank you. Diane Hewlett, please.
Hi, I'm Diane Hewlett. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I support everyone on what has been said, so I won't repeat that. I do want to touch on, they are a private group. I don't get it. That's a pretty sweet deal, I think, that they've had for all these years. And to add to that, they are only becoming transparent because they're being forced to. That says a lot. But I wanted to touch on the tourism because I don't understand why they already have a building, which I don't understand why they put that one on the water, but now they want to take up another area on that $1 million view, as was spoken before. I don't support that at all. I have visited the Gulf Shores in Alabama. They are fabulous. Their riverfronts are so cool. Drove up and down the coastline of California. I'm sure many of you have been all over, but those are my experiences. You cannot find one business on that strip there, the Forest Strand, Malibu, and none of it. We had rented a house there, a 20-person house. So there were a lot of us that pumped money into that economy. And I just think that's just total waste of what we have been able to do. They don't put jails, they don't put libraries. Those can be anywhere. But yet they want us to trust them for future growth. Now, I have not done any research on the MSU, but it's very interesting, and I'm glad that you are pursuing information on that. They've known for a long time, as you have mentioned, this meeting was scheduled for today. If he was sick, and we get that, everybody's got the crud going on, okay, but why would you not send a representative that's on the board that can answer your questions that you were seeking? It just seems like another avenue to perhaps not answer the questions that need to be answered. So again, thank you. I have much more to say, but thank you so much for looking into this, and thanks for letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Shane Richardson, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Shane Richardson, and I stand before you today as a taxpayer deeply concerned about the continued funding of the Economic Development Alliance. The EDA has repeatedly operated in secrecy, using non-disclosure agreements to keep the public in the dark, especially regarding industrial solar projects that could have long-term impacts on our land, property value, and the quality of life. Where is the accountability? Where is the commitment to the health, safety, and wellness of the very residents funding this organization? The people of St. Clair County deserve open discussions, not backroom deals that leave us with more questions than answers. We currently give the EDA $300,000 a year, money that could be used to support alternative organizations that prioritize responsible, transparent economic growth while protecting our communities. One great option is Michigan State University Cooperative Extension. I have researched them thoroughly, and I believe that they are a great alternative that we should at least consider. At worst, we tried this option for 1 year. Then we can go back to the Economic Development Alliance if you believe that this alternative is not in our best interest. I believe that they have proven time after time that they can provide research-backed resources, business development support, and sustainable economic strategies while ensuring transparency and public engagement. I urge you to take a stand today. Do not fund an organization that hides behind NDAs and disregards the public's interest. Instead, please invest in groups that truly value the health, safety, and voices of St. Clair County residents. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Any other citizens that wish to make a public comment? Okay, hearing none. Any commissioners that wish to make any comments? Go ahead, please.
I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. We do have township members present, supervisors and board members, and they've spoken. And if a board of trustee, every board of trustees that is a member of the EDA, they approve funds to be a member of the EDA. Once they do that, they are also bound by the NDA contractually. So they're doing this. Any board that is part of the EDA currently is also contractually a part of the NDAs that have to be done.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I have a comment to make, and this is relative to this discussion. A little over a year ago, as many of you would know, I was out in the audience sitting with a lot of these folks. I rose up to talk about pollution from the Smiths Creek landfill, and I did so. And then I looked up and people talked to me and said, hey, there's other things in the county to look at. So I stepped forward and decided to run for commissioner. When I did that, I just didn't cover District 5, which is my district. I was throughout the county. And what I kept hearing was the economic development. Why aren't we getting tourism? Why aren't we getting things people can do? Why are we getting developments pushed that we don't want? Why are we getting brownfield housing in areas that the citizens knew nothing about? Why don't citizens know something is coming? So I reached out to Dan Casey last June on a nice summer afternoon, and I said, Dan, I'd like to talk to you. Can I FOIA your organization? No, we're not FOIAble. I said, well, who are you working for? Who does your organization work for? And he paused, and many of you have heard what I've said during my campaign. I said, well, you're working for the people of the county, aren't you? Well, apparently that's not necessarily true. When I was a young man and a young engineer, I used to look around and I'd say to my bosses or to my superiors, this doesn't look right. What's going on? This just doesn't look right. And they'd say, well, you don't understand, Robert. So I would go out and I would investigate. As a young engineer, I was a little sloppy, but I got better over the years. And as I investigated, I found out, yeah, it isn't right. And then I'd go back to them and say, this isn't right. And they'd say, that's the way it's always been, but you can't do anything about it. So I got elected. So like every commissioner up here, now we can do something about it. What I intend to do, tomorrow I will be sending an email to Ms. Hepting, and I'm going to ask to have the following conceptual initiatives added to the March 6th Board of Commissioner agenda under the Community and Economic Development part of the meeting. 4 steps. 1, that the Board of Commissioners suspend any funding of the Economic Development Alliance of St. Clair County and any in-kind services indefinitely. 2, that the Board of Commissioners limit any county services to the Economic Development Alliance of St. Clair County to what is statutorily required. 3, that the Board of Commissioners allocate the approximately $310,000 in annual dues currently paid to the Economic Development Alliance of St. Clair County to the community and economic development effort in county government as we define in the Board of Commissioners. And 4, that the Community and Economic Development Chair and the Board of Commissioners initiate a contractual document with MSU Extension to establish and promote a community and economic development effort in our county government. I will be sending that to you tomorrow, Ms. Hepting, to include in the agenda for March 6th. That's all I have. Does anybody else have any comments on the board? Okay. Thank you very much. I thank you all for your patience and for attending this workshop. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.